So today I want to talk about handwriting. Handwriting is a big elephant in the room for many students who are preparing for the 11 plus. Hello there, so my name's Joycelyn Akufo. I am the Managing Director of Geek School Tutoring. And today I want to say a big welcome for those who are new to the Geek School YouTube channel. I want to say a hello to our geekers. Hi guys, thank you for your constant support. I see everything in the comments and it's amazing. So thank you very, very, very much. For some children, if the class teacher is not complaining about their handwriting and it's mum nagging at home, they just don't listen for some reason. So I want to talk about handwriting. As I tell my students all the time, if the examiner is unable to read your work, they cannot imagine what you've written about. They can only mark what's legible. And sometimes the cursive is so intertwined that it even looks like children are misspelling words, because a loop in the wrong way can make it look as if there's an additional letter in there somewhere or something along those lines. These are things that have to be corrected because, you know, there are so many independent schools in particular, and even stage 2 grammar schools, St Olave's and the Sutton group schools, for example, where they're oversubscribed. They've got more applicants than they have spaces, you know? And so where children make it difficult for the examiners to mark their work because the handwriting is so illegible, it doesn't help with their chances of being offered a place or being asked to, or being deemed selective. You know, when a child has done well enough, they will deem them selective and give you the go-ahead to add their school to the secondary application form. One way of improving handwriting is with the wrists, okay? So even simple things like drawing and painting and so on can really help to strengthen the wrist. Even things like scribbling and so on, just to help strengthen the wrist, okay? And it's something that you can encourage your child to do for fun, because obviously, you know, when it comes to handwriting, children in year 5 and year 6, they often don't want to use handwriting books. And on that note, it's one of the reasons why I released a handwriting book for older children. The worst thing I find is that, you know, if you have a child who's in year 5, year 6 and so on, and you decide to print off some of the handwriting style sheets that they did in maybe year 1, year 2, it's such an insult, they think, to them. And so, you know, over the years, I'm also one of those people that think, oh my goodness, I keep talking about this handwriting with this student every time. And there are other tips that I will share shortly, but there really needs to be something out there that will help children to want to look at their handwriting again and perfect that handwriting. And so we actually have got a handwriting book for older children that I've created. Imagine. Yes, I have, because, you know, often a lot of these children are very gifted, they're very talented, they're very knowledgeable, but their handwriting speaks something completely different. And presentation is everything when it comes to an exam paper. Obviously, the answers need to be right as well. But when you compare a child who has beautifully written an essay, for example, with all the paragraphs in, it's very legible, it's tidy, and then you compare it with an illegible piece of writing that is, you know, littered with scribblings to cross out mistakes and so on, it does make a difference, really. And there isn't a lot of time to sit there trying to scrutinize the answers that children have submitted. It's not like it's their class teacher marking the paper. It needs to be legible to somebody they don't know. So what I often do is ask another child to try and read the writing of a child, so a student that they feel comfortable with, obviously having asked their permission. And when they can hear how difficult it is for somebody their own age to read their work, it often makes them sit up a lot more, because when it's coming from an adult, it can seem like it's nagging and all of that, which obviously it's not. It's to help the child. But some of them are so resistant to change, unfortunately. They're so resistant to constructive criticism, maybe because they've experienced it at the wrong end of things, you know, where they've been criticized so negatively that they've lost confidence and so on. Whatever the case is, we need to find a way to support that child to help them improve their handwriting. And one method that I encourage parents to try, besides the drawing and so on that strengthens the wrists, is to just let your child pick their favorite book. Any book at all, from a comic to a Bible to a David Walliams book, whatever the case may be. And just pick a paragraph and ask them to slowly write each letter to begin with, remembering that with cursive we're going up, round and down and so on, depending on what the letter is and what it's being connected to. So doing it slowly out of exam conditions makes them think about how they're writing, and then gradually increase the pace to help them with the pace, because, you know, obviously they won't have time in the exam to write at that very slow and measured speed. So they need to build up to writing like that. Has to really build up to writing like that. So that's something to consider. Any kind of material that your child likes to read, that they can use to copy out paragraph, is very, very helpful. I think it's also helpful if they can see what other children their own age are producing. This has to be handled sensitively, because obviously the last thing anyone wants to do is to diminish the confidence of a child. So it's very, very important that this is done sensitively, okay? So it's about looking for a positive way of doing it, without the comparison or negative comparison more so. You know, sometimes children don't hold their pencil or pen properly. You know, I see children who don't even hold the paper in place. It's always a bit of a running joke at Geek School, because I do it in the way that the students laugh, to be honest, to try and get the message in. You know, we have two hands, but many students will try and hold the paper with this part of their arm and then write, you know, with obviously the wrist. And coupled with that, they also tend not to hold their writing tool properly anyway. So what you have is lack of control and just a very slow pace, all because the hand is doing the job, one arm and hand is doing the job of two. So really your child needs to put their hand on the paper that they're writing on, using the hand that their non-writing hand. So if your child is right-handed, they would want to use the left hand to hold the paper in place. If it's held securely in place, when they start to write, the paper won't be moving here, there and everywhere, okay? And because they're not using this part of their arm to support the paper, it means that the paper isn't wavering, you know, and moving here and there. It also means that your child will be able to really grip the pen or pencil properly in order to write more clearly. It's such a basic thing, but many of them are probably, you know, clearly they've got into the habit of writing like that. We see that even with the older students, you know, so that's one thing. Fingernails, and this tends to be a situation with the older girls, but I will mention it here because the world is just, oh my goodness. Children today, you know, it's a bit different to when I was their age, for example. You and I were their age. Fingernails, long fingernails can obviously affect your child's handwriting, because it affects the way that they grip their writing tool of choice. So that's something that must be looked at as well, okay? So look at that and make sure that your child is using their 2 fingers plus the thumb, and these are the fingers that will be moving to do the writing, okay? And the writing tool sits right here, basically, okay, comfortably, so that it doesn't cause strain on their wrist and so on. And also look at their seating positions. I think I've mentioned this in one of my videos before about using the toilet position. I know it sounds very crude, but that's not my clearly that's not the agenda. But you know, they should be sitting upright, you know, a straight back, upright, and leaning into the work. I've seen students who are so far from their writing, they can't even see whether it looks neat and tidy or not until everything's written, by which time, of course, it's too late to make these adjustments. So they need to really sit properly and look at what they're writing, making sure that it's legible, that it's neat. And then finally, for any crossing outs, of course, if they're reading through work, they should find mistakes. That's the whole point. A neat line through it, no scribbling, you know, it looks so untidy, and often it's so difficult to read work that has been crossed and scribbled out in that way. It's much better to just do a clean line, do an insertion line, and then just write the new word at the top. That's the best way of doing corrections. So we've reached the end of the video, geekers. I hope that was helpful. There'll be a link in the description box regarding you know, the Geek School handwriting book for older children. Please go ahead and have a look at it. You'd buy it on Amazon. I think it's amazing, obviously, otherwise I would not release it at all. And when you get there, you will also see some of the other Geek School books on Amazon. We have got quite a burgeoning portfolio of books. There are so many more to go on, but time is the question. But we will get there. And obviously, on the Geek School website, we've got lots of resources there also. So I hope this has been helpful. Please, as usual, let me know in the comments of any areas that you would like to get some support, some information on. It really helps me in producing videos that I know that our subscribers want to find out about. You know, I will always try and help as much as possible, as you know. So that's it. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Please remember to turn on your notifications so that YouTube will alert you when a new video goes up. And of course, like the video so that the algorithm will know that this is a video that would be helpful to other people. Thank you ever so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.